Early in the morning, beneath a thin veil of mist draped over a small hillside, Tieu began her new day as usual. The cheerful chirping of birds mingled with the distant crowing of roosters, echoing through the tranquil countryside. She stepped out into the yard, gently scattering grains of rice for the doves and chickens eagerly waiting. Her face lit up with a serene, gentle smile, radiating warmth and simplicity. This rustic way of life was everything Tieu cherished deeply. Near her home stood a large canarium tree, one that had been with her since childhood. Now, in fruiting season, ripe canarium fruits covered the ground beneath it, promising a bountiful harvest. Tieu prepared a basket, a knife, and a few other tools, ready to head out to the garden for picking. As she was getting ready, Trang, her adopted younger sister and longtime close friend, came by for a visit. "You're heading out to pick canarium fruits, aren't you?" Trang asked. "Can I come along?" Smiling, Tieu nodded. "Of course. Today will be a fun day for the two of us." The two set off. Along the grassy trail, their cheerful laughter and chatter made the atmosphere even more lively. They passed by a cluster of Burmese grape trees with bunches of unripe fruit. "When they ripen, I'll take you to pick some," Tieu said. When they reached the canarium tree, they began collecting the ripe fruits that had fallen to the ground. These fruits can be turned into many delicious dishes, from fish stew to stir-fries or even pickled, Tieu explained. Trang's eyes lit up. "Can you cook some for me later?" "Of course." Tieu beamed. But that peaceful moment didn't last for long. Elsewhere, an older man, Mr. Tuan, arrived at the home of Yuri's mother. Yuri was the head of the company currently partnering with Tieu's family. Mr. Tuan looked tense, clearly in a hurry. "I'm here today to ask you to speak with Yuri. My company is being sued because of his lawsuit." He explained that one of his employees had misappropriated 25% of the project funds, but he had managed to retrieve and return all of the money. Still, Yuri had proceeded with the lawsuit, causing Mr. Tuan's company to cease operations. The situation had become serious, so serious that Mr. Tuan bluntly warned. "If you can't convince Yuri to drop the lawsuit, the police will step in. And when that happens, everything you and I did to Tieu's parents' company will come to light." It was a thinly veiled threat, cold, sharp, and dangerous. Yuri's mother fell silent for a long moment, then responded anxiously. "I'll try to talk to Yuri." As Mr. Tuan left, her face was heavy with worry. Things were no longer simple. Meanwhile, back in the forest near the house, Tieu and Trang continued picking canarium fruits. The fresh air and green surroundings helped them forget their worries for a while. Then, unexpectedly, Trang opened up. "Sis, a few days ago, Egan invited me over for dinner, and he confessed his feelings to me. But I only see him as an older brother." Tieu was surprised, but gently said, "Egan is a good man. Maybe you should give him a chance." Trang shook her head. "I'm an orphan. My dream has always been to find my birth parents." The truth made Tieu fall silent. She quietly replied, "I'm the same. I was raised by an elderly woman, but she's gone now, and I don't know who my real parents are." The two girls sat quietly among the trees, connected by a deep and shared understanding. Life had brought them together not just through sisterly bonds, but through mutual loss and the longing to return to their roots. Trang explained that her foster mother once gave her an address, but by the time she visited, her parents had already moved away. "We'll find our families someday," Trang said, holding Tieu's hand with hope. By the time the two girls returned home, it was late afternoon. Beside a small fish pond, they chatted happily and prepared dinner together. Meanwhile, at another house, Yuri's mother sat down to speak with her son about the lawsuit. She hoped Yuri would withdraw it, since Mr. Tuan was an old family friend. But Yuri was resolute. Uncle Tuan caused real harm to our company. Egan and I even had to sell our house to pay contract penalties. That's the price of a lack of transparency. Yuri also mentioned that Tieu and Trang had played a vital role in helping the company recover its funds. Trang had applied to work at Truong Fat Company to secretly investigate and find evidence, even risking her own safety. Meanwhile, Tieu had met with their accountant to gather more proof. Yuri's mother listened in silence. Although she had once disapproved of Tieu, she now realized just how kind-hearted and brave the girl truly was. Despite the busy life filled with early morning baking and a constant flow of customers coming and going, there remained a deep emptiness within Tieu's heart, one that no amount of activity could fill. Every night, after closing the bakery, she would sit alone in the small kitchen, staring out at the street lamp's glow cast through the foggy glass, quietly lost in memories of the past. Of her mother. Of the cold winter nights when she was little, when only the howling wind through the cracks in the door and the heavy footsteps of her gruff father kept her company. Sometimes, while kneading dough or baking a cake, she could almost feel her mother's hand gently stroking her hair, a distant, blurry memory, but one full of warmth. She often wondered, if her mother were still alive, would things have turned out differently? Would she have been held close, whispered to with tender words she had yearned for throughout her childhood? One late afternoon, as the light rain fell outside, a strange woman stepped into the bakery. She looked to be in her 50s, with graying hair and eyes filled with contemplation. She ordered a cup of tea and an apricot tart, the very tart that Tieu rarely made, as it brought back too many memories. When she brought out the dessert, the woman looked at her for a long time before speaking in a warm, deep voice. "You're Tieu, aren't you?" Startled, Tieu paused. How did this woman know her name? The woman gave a soft, sorrowful smile. "I was your mother's closest friend. We met once when you were very young, though you likely don't remember." Tieu's heart pounded. Her father had never mentioned any friend of her mother's. No one had ever shown up before to speak to her about the woman who had passed away so long ago. Their conversation that day lasted for hours. The woman told her stories of her mother's youth, a gentle girl who loved art and had once dreamed of opening a small bakery in a sunlit town. A dream that Tieu was now unknowingly fulfilling on her mother's behalf. "You're just like her," the woman said quietly. "From your eyes to the way you stir batter, it's as if she's living again through you." After that day, the woman never returned. But Tieu had found a missing piece of her life, something vital and long lost. And within her stirred a newfound determination, stronger than ever before. She wanted to learn more about her mother's past, about the secrets her father had never dared reveal. Meanwhile, the bakery grew more and more popular. Word about the Bakery of the Wind spread far and wide, not just for its unique pastries, but for the comforting, peaceful feeling that seemed to fill every corner. Each customer brought their own story, their own sorrows, and each was received with the quiet sincerity that Tieu offered so effortlessly. As if, in selling her cakes, she was gently healing hearts long bruised by life. One quiet afternoon, while tidying up the counter during a lull, Tieu noticed an old envelope tucked behind the calendar on the wall. It was in her mother's handwriting. A handwritten letter, one she never imagined she would ever find. The envelope lay silently under a layer of time-worn dust, its edges yellowed with age. Tieu's hands trembled as she opened it. Inside was a handwritten letter in pale blue ink, the soft, flowing script evoking the gentle memory of her late mother. "To my beloved daughter, Tieu. If you have found this letter, then I'm likely no longer by your side. I'm sorry I couldn't stay to take care of you, walk you to school, bake cakes with you, or simply hold your hand through the early years of your life. Tieu's eyes blurred with tears, each word piercing her heart like a whisper from the past. My daughter, perhaps when you grow up, you'll resent me. Resent me for not being there, for leaving you with a father who didn't know how to love. But I want you to know, I loved you more than anything in this world. Back then, I wanted to take you away, to start a new life. But fate didn't give me that chance. I was too ill, too weak to carry on. I had no choice but to leave you with your father, knowing it would bring you hardship. Each line felt like a needle stitching old wounds in Tieu's heart. The letter wasn't long, but it carried a sky full of love her mother never got the chance to express. Please, live your life as your true self. Don't be like me, submissive and silent. If one day, you find yourself baking, think of me. Because baking isn't just about measuring flour and turning on the oven. It's about pouring in your heart. You are the most beautiful thing I've ever left behind in this world. I love you. Tieu held the letter tightly to her chest. Her heart clenched as tears streamed down her face, unstoppable. The questions that had haunted her for years now had an answer. Her mother hadn't abandoned her. She had fought, had loved, only fate had been too cruel. That night, for the first time in years, Tieu didn't bake. She sat alone in the kitchen, under the warm dim light, opened a bottle of wine long kept away, and whispered to herself, she would live a life worthy of the love her mother had left behind. In the days that followed, the bakery began to feel different, not because the taste of the pastries had changed, but because a new kind of energy had begun to fill the space. Each tart, each cookie, each loaf of bread was now made with a deeper understanding than ever before. Tieu started to write little notes on each pastry box. To a friend I've never met, I hope you find the peace I once found. One late afternoon, as sunlight streamed through the window, a special visitor returned. It was the woman from before, her mother's old friend. This time, she brought a faded photograph. In it, her mother beamed with joy, holding hands with a small girl. But what stunned Tieu most was the presence of another figure in the photo, a man, completely different from the image of the father she had known all her life. The woman explained that Tieu's biological father wasn't the man who had raised her. He was the man in the photograph, a poor artist who had left after a tragic twist of fate. Tieu froze. Her entire life had been built on a lie. You can look for him, the woman said. He wrote many letters to your mother but never dared to send them. That evening, Tieu searched through an old drawer. In a deep compartment, she found a small wooden box, locked with a tiny key she had kept as a childhood memento since she was 8. Inside were dozens of letters written in an unfamiliar hand. One envelope bore her name. To my daughter. I'm sorry I couldn't be with you. Every day I live, I carry your image in my heart. I was never worthy of your mother, and I lacked the courage to find you, but I have always been watching over you. Tieu didn't sleep that night. The letters, the truths, the patchwork of memories played like an old film in her mind. She didn't know whether to feel angry or to forgive. All she knew was this: her life had just turned to a brand new chapter.